There is knowledge that has endured for thousands of years, passed down like hidden jewels, reserved only for those courageous enough to embark on the journey of inner transformation. The outer world may be filled with turmoil, yet within every human being lies an immutable cosmic law, where thought shapes reality, where vibration summons experience, where rhythm, polarity, cause and effect, and creation all operate in harmony. This path is not about becoming rich quickly or finding shortcuts, but about becoming unshakable. When you understand and live according to the 7 universal principles, you cease to be a victim of circumstance and rise as the architect of destiny, a spiritual warrior who knows how to plant the seed, wait for the season, and move forward with certainty. This is the gateway for those who are ready. Introduction. The hidden knowledge and why society wants you dependent. There exists a kind of knowledge that has endured for thousands of years, yet few have ever touched it, not because it is distant or unreachable, but because it has been deliberately concealed. The books that were written were never intended for the masses. The teachings were whispered in silence, for the simple reason that if even a small group of people knew how to apply them, the entire order of society would be overturned. You may ask, why would something that grants freedom and power to humanity be hidden away? The answer is simple. Because the moment an individual becomes truly free, they can no longer be controlled by imposed systems, they can no longer be manipulated by fear, and they can no longer be bound by external conditions. A society maintains its grip when the majority live in scarcity, confusion, and dependency, when the human mind is occupied with chasing quick fixes, get-rich schemes, or soothing mantras that only serve as spiritual sedatives. It will never reach the true source of power. Society needs you to keep running after external solutions, because only then do you remain a cog in the endless machine of production and consumption. The hidden knowledge is not a trick, not a clever tactic to make money. It is a principle of operation within the human being. It does not make you a winner in a temporary game. It makes you the creator of the game itself. It does not hand you a few fleeting coins of gold. It reveals to you an inexhaustible mine of treasure within your own mind and spirit. Society does not want you to know this, because once you do, you will no longer bow your head for approval. You will no longer cling desperately to external promises. You will stand firm as a free being, unbuyable, unshakable, and ungovernable by fear. Look closely at reality. You are taught that your value depends on titles, on the number in your bank account, on the degrees framed on your wall. You are told that power belongs to the few and that you must be content with the scraps that fall from their tables. You are conditioned to believe that you must run faster, work harder, and compete more fiercely just to be worthy of recognition. And yet, all of this is an illusion. True value never comes from outside. It comes from within. Once you touch that inner source, you no longer need permission, you no longer need to prove yourself, and you no longer depend on the promises of any system. Society wants you to believe that your fortune or misfortune comes from the outside. They want you to believe that the market decides, that circumstances decide, that the external world is the ultimate cause of every outcome in your life. But the truth is the exact opposite. Every outer circumstance is but a mirror reflecting the state of the inner being. A mind filled with fear will inevitably summon events that make fear real. A heart overflowing with gratitude will draw conditions that multiply abundance. You are the cause, and life is the effect. That is the knowledge that has been hidden. And why is it hidden? Because once you know that you are the cause, no one can sell you half measures again. Once you understand that true power begins in thought and feeling, every external method of control becomes powerless A society built on dependency requires people who have forgotten their inner strength, but a society of free individuals cannot be ruled by fear and scarcity. This knowledge is not far away. You have touched it in rare moments. It is that silence in which a wave of peace rises within you, not born of any success or possession. It is that instant when you trust your intuition and discover that the choice opened a new door for your life. It is that awareness that every event is connected, not by chance, but woven together like a tapestry by unseen threads from your own mind. These moments are the call of the hidden knowledge, reminding you that a deeper law is at work. Society wants you distracted with surface games so that you never have the time or energy to turn inward. They flood you with addictions, information, entertainment, endless races of comparison, so that you always feel lacking and try to fill the void with something new. But lack can never be healed from the outside. Only when you sit in silence and realize that you are the spring from which value flows does the illusion of lack dissolve. This is why they do not want you to find this knowledge, because once you do, the entire structure of vested interest trembles, yet no one can stop a seed that has reached its season to sprout. No one can hold back a source when the waters are full and ready to flow. Hidden knowledge is not reserved for a chosen few. It waits for all who are willing to step out of dependency, to look directly within, and to embrace the fact that freedom is inseparable from responsibility. If you dare to claim full responsibility, no longer blaming, no longer avoiding, you unlock the door to a treasure no external power can touch. That knowledge is the truth that you are a creative spirit, that every limitation is but a fleeting shadow, that freedom is not granted, but awakened. This is why it has been hidden, and this is also why you are now being called to rediscover it. And once you do, no one can ever take it from you, for it is not contained in books or doctrines, but rests eternally in the very center of your consciousness. Rejecting quick riches, the nature of true transformation and enduring power. How many methods have you tried to change your life? How many promises of instant success have passed through your ears? And how many times have you realized that the results were fleeting like a fire that blazes brightly for a moment, only to fade and leave behind a deeper darkness than before? The modern world is saturated with advertisements for quick wealth, shortcuts to happiness and prosperity. Yet it is precisely these shortcuts that rob people of the solid foundation needed to build a life of substance. For sudden riches are nothing more than a thin coat of paint that easily peels away, while lasting strength can only be forged through the recreation of the self at its very root. A man may be lucky enough to win a lottery or stumble upon a temporary business opportunity, but without inner strength, he will soon return to where he began, if not worse off. Meanwhile, one who understands the inner law, who knows how to sow and patiently cultivate, builds foundations with every step, and his success cannot be stolen by the shifting winds of circumstance. Enduring power does not reside in immediate results, but in transformation from the inside out. It is the journey of one who shifts from living as a victim to standing as a creator, from merely reacting to events to consciously shaping them. True wealth is not a temporary balance in a bank account. It is the ability to sustain abundance regardless of conditions. It is the strength of one who, though stripped of all possessions, can rise again to build greater than before. It is the resilience that no adversity can overthrow. Ask yourself a question, simple yet profound. Do you truly want quick riches, or do you want to become the kind of person who cannot be shaken, who holds the key to build whatever they desire, whenever and wherever they choose? For if you only chase quick wealth, you will forever pursue illusions and reap disappointment. But if you desire true transformation, you must embark upon a long journey where every step is disciplined, every thought examined, and every action becomes a stone in the foundation. Here lies the paradox of hidden knowledge. It does not promise an easy path, but it promises a certain one. It does not offer instant excitement, but it grants enduring power. Like a seed, if you dig it up each day to check, you will never see it sprout. But if you trust, nurture it with light, water, and time, it will rise into a mighty tree, strong through the years, offering shade for generations to come. Deep down, you already know that all things of permanence require time to form. True friendship needs years of cultivation. True love requires seasons of shared trials. And true prosperity is no different. It demands discipline, faith, and constancy. Why then would you expect quick wealth when you know well that the most precious things in life have never arrived overnight? There is a mysterious power that arises when you stop chasing rapid change and begin choosing steady growth. You will find that you no longer panic when markets shift. You no longer despair when failure comes knocking. And you are no longer confused when others doubt you, for you know that your path is not built on luck or approval, but upon the immutable laws that operate within you. If quick wealth is a lightning flash, then enduring power is the sunrise. Lightning may astonish you for a moment, but the sun is what nourishes all life and sustains the world. One who chases quick riches lives forever in the cycle of hope and disappointment. But one who seeks endurance builds step by step until one day they realize they themselves have become the sun radiant, life-giving, and in need of nothing from outside. If you are listening now, I want to pause and ask you, just you, do you wish to be the one who runs after the lightning or the one who becomes the sun? This is not a question to answer in a few seconds, but a question to carry in your heart, to ponder in moments of stillness. Write your answer within yourself so that you see clearly the choice you are making. And if you are here reading these words, I know you have not come for entertainment. You have come to change. I thank you, for your presence is proof that there are still those who dare to step beyond illusion and seek the truth. When you choose to reject the path of quick wealth, you are not forsaking riches. You are choosing to possess them forever. You are not turning away from success. You are deciding that success will become your very identity, not a fleeting moment. This is the essence of true transformation, and it is the key to becoming unshakable. The 7 universal principles, the grand framework governing the cosmos and personal success. From the beginning, the wise observed the universe and discovered that every phenomenon, from the movement of the stars to the breath of man, follows an invisible order. They did not write down these principles for entertainment, nor did they use them as tools of domination, but to preserve the truth for those who were hungry enough and disciplined enough to apply it. There are 7 principles, and when rightly understood, they form a grand framework that explains why your life is as it is and how you may recreate it. These principles are not inventions of the modern age. They are the red thread woven through history, found in religion, in philosophy, in ancient science, and even in the lessons of daily life. If only you are discerning enough to see. The first principle is mentalism. Mind is the first cause. The universe is not mere matter. It is the expression of thought. Every event you now experience once existed first as an idea in your mind or in the collective mind. True power begins with the recognition that you do not merely observe the world, you create it through the stream of your thought. The second principle is correspondence. As within, so without. As above, so below. Your inner state and your outer circumstances are but 2 faces of the same reality. If you wish to change results, you must change causes. When you touch this law, you stop wasting energy repainting the shadow and begin reshaping the form that casts it. The third principle is vibration. Everything moves. Nothing stands still. Thoughts, emotions, even beliefs carry frequencies, and these frequencies attract experiences of their kind. If you dwell continually in fear, you will call forth conditions that confirm it. If you cultivate gratitude, the universe will send you more reasons to be grateful. This is no miracle. It is the law at work. The fourth principle is polarity. Everything has its opposites, yet they are but the two extremes of one continuum. Hot and cold are both temperature, poor and rich are but different expressions of the same energy stream. When you realize this, you know that whatever state you are in is only a point on a scale, and you may move along that scale toward the pole you desire. The fifth principle is rhythm. All things move in cycles, ebb and flow, advance and retreat. When you understand rhythm, you no longer panic in times of decline, for you are prepared for the next surge. The wise learn to ride with the current rather than resist it, to sow when the season is right, and to fortify when winter comes. The sixth principle is cause and effect. There is no such thing as blind chance. Every result springs from a cause, whether you recognize it or not. If you sow rice, you cannot reap grapes. Your thoughts, words, and deeds are the seeds, and life simply mirrors back the harvest. When you grasp this law, you become a conscious planter, no longer one who waits on luck. The seventh principle is generation. Creation requires the union of complementary forces. Within you dwell both the masculine energy of action, decision, and direction, and the feminine energy of receptivity, nurture, and imagination. An idea lives only when it is both protected and nourished, and then given concrete expression in action. Without both, the dream either remains forever in the imagination or turns into empty labor without spirit. These seven principles do not operate in isolation. They work as a system. Mentalism grants you the awareness that thought is the origin. Correspondence teaches you that inner and outer always mirror each other. Vibration gives you the means to tune your frequency. Polarity allows you to shift your state. Rhythm reminds you when to move and when to rest. Cause and effect gives you absolute responsibility. Generation unites all into the full process of creation. When you align with them together, you do not merely change fragments of life, you elevate the whole of experience. Those who have succeeded across the ages, philosophers, artists, scientists, and entrepreneurs have lived, whether knowingly or unconsciously, in accord with these principles, but the difference between the one who stumbles upon them and the one who consciously applies them is as the difference between a sailor steering the ship and a man tossed upon the waves. The accidental may find luck once, the deliberate can journey far in spite of storms. This knowledge is therefore not meant to be admired only, but to be practiced. Once you see this grand framework, you recognize that every aspect of life, may be restructured finances, health, relationships, even the joy of the spirit, nothing lies outside these laws. And that is why they are revolutionary. They transform you from one carried by circumstances into one who designs them. This is the moment you cease chasing external solutions and begin cooperating with the foundational structure of the universe itself. Principle 1, mentalism. The universe is mind. Thought is the first cause of reality. The first principle, and the foundation upon which all others rest, is mentalism, the truth that the universe is mind, that every object, event, and circumstance you experience begins with a thought. Before any achievement could take form in the material world, it lived first in the imagination of a human being. The house you dwell in, the phone you hold in your hand, Even the limitations you believe bind you all began as a stream of thought. Most people drift through life without ever realizing this originating power. They treat thoughts as random fragments, as meaningless noise, when in truth, each thought is a creative command sent out into the universe. What you see and experience right now is nothing more than the reflection of the ideas you have consistently held in your mind, whether you are conscious of them or not. What makes mentalism revolutionary is that it shifts you from being passive to being active. If life were merely the product of external circumstances, you would forever remain a victim. But once you grasp that thought is the first cause, you hold in your hands the power of the Creator. You stop blaming the market, other people, or circumstances, and you begin examining the current of thought you maintain daily. If the seed you plant is fear, you will reap anxiety. If you plant faith and gratitude, you will reap abundance. The world outside is nothing more than a faithful mirror reflecting the world within. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, are you living as a creator or merely as one who reacts? Each time you meet a challenge, do you say, everything is against me? Or do you ask, how can I use this moment to strengthen myself and open a new path? The very questions you pose in your mind determine the direction of your reality. Many misunderstand this power, imagining that positive thinking alone is enough. But mentalism is not a childish game of self-suggestion. You may repeat beautiful affirmations, yet if deep within you still harbor limiting beliefs, those are the frequencies the universe responds to. Thought is not merely words passing through the head. It is the vibration you steadily nurture. It is the persistence of thought that engraves reality into form. So how do you align with this principle? First, you must recognize that every thought matters. No thought is harmless. Each seed planted in the soil of the subconscious will sprout if watered with repeated attention. Next, you must train yourself to observe the mind as a vigilant watchman. When a negative thought arises, instead of allowing it to take root unseen, you recognize it and choose another direction. Your power lies in the ability to select and nurture thoughts that align with your intention. Mentalism also unveils a greater truth. Collective reality itself is woven from collective thought. The shared beliefs, shared fears, and shared aspirations of a people shape the history and destiny of their society. Thus, when you transform your personal thought, you not only alter your own life, but also contribute to a greater wave of renewal. This is one reason the principle was once guarded in secrecy. For if the masses awakened to it at once, no system of control could hold. You may wonder how to know if you have truly stepped into the role of creator. The first sign is that you are no longer shaken by external events. You still face trials, but instead of being swept away, you recognize that each situation mirrors a belief within you, and you can choose to alter it. This is the power that sets a human being free. So let me ask you a direct question, not to be answered lightly, but to be carved upon your heart. If your life today is the truest mirror of your mind, are you satisfied with what it reflects? If not, are you ready to plant new thoughts beginning now? If you have truly listened this far, leave a simple declaration. I am ready to change asterisk, or even the number times one asterisk, to mark your presence and your seriousness in stepping into the path of the Creator. And I thank you for your presence is living proof that the light of this knowledge is awakening once again in the world. Mentalism is not a theory to be debated, but a principle to be lived. From this moment forward, watch carefully the thoughts you sow, for they will grow into the harvest you must reap. When you understand and practice this principle, you no longer need to chase after power, for you realize that power has always been present in every single thought you choose to hold absolute responsibility, from victim to architect, discipline of thought and vigilance of spirit. There comes a moment on the journey from which one cannot turn back. The moment one realizes there is no longer room for excuses, at that instant, both burden and freedom fall upon the shoulders. Burden, because you can no longer blame the external world. Freedom, because you are no longer bound by it. This is the turning point that transforms a person from victim to architect, from passive recipient to designer of destiny. Before understanding this principle, it is easy to soothe yourself by saying failure was caused by others, by the market, by the times. Such reasons may dull the pain for a while, but they also rob you of the power to create a new. Once you grasp that thought as the first cause, you must acknowledge that your present circumstances are the product of the thought stream you have nourished. But knowing is not enough, for knowledge must be married to discipline. Thought is not a harmless brook passing by. It is the river that shapes the landscape. Left unmanaged, it will erode, flood, and sweep you into chaos. Governed rightly, it becomes the water that irrigates fields of abundance. Discipline of thought does not mean forcing yourself to think positively at every moment. It means cultivating awareness to recognize, select, and nurture only the thoughts that align with the path you have chosen. This is a work no one else can do on your behalf. A person without discipline of thought is like a homeowner who leaves every gate open, letting anyone wander in and out. Soon the house will be crowded with clutter, leaving no space for purity. By contrast, the one who guards thought is like a wise gatekeeper, knowing clearly who may enter and who must be turned away. Spiritual vigilance is precisely this state, observing yourself with alertness and resolve. You know that a small, fearful thought, if permitted to root, can grow into a forest of doubt, blocking out the light of faith. You also know that one spark of gratitude, if protected, can illuminate a whole season of joy. The journey from victim to architect is not a slogan, but a process. It begins the moment you stop blaming, deepens as you cultivate the discipline of thought, and matures as you practice continuous vigilance of spirit. People often seek miracles outside, but the real miracle is your ability to catch a negative thought, stop it before it takes root, and replace it with one stronger and wiser. The miracle lies in the moment you refuse to surrender to old emotions and instead redirect the course of your mind. When absolute responsibility is accepted, you begin to see that no circumstance is random. An unfavorable event arises rather than lament. You ask what signal you had sent that drew it in. A great opportunity appears rather than dismiss it as mere luck. You recognize it as a response to the positive thoughts you have sustained. This awareness makes you an active participant in the law of cause and effect, rather than one swept about by the winds of chance. Spiritual vigilance is not a state of tension, but of relaxed alertness. Like a gardener tending his field, he does not live in anxious dread, but keeps watch with calm attention, pulling weeds when they first appear, watering when needed, shielding tender shoots from storm. Your inner life is the same. You cannot stop every seed from falling, but you can choose not to let the poisonous ones take root. Many fear the idea of absolute responsibility, believing it means carrying the weight of everything. The truth is the opposite. When you take full responsibility, you also claim full power. You are no longer bound to the choices of others, no longer tied to the whims of chance, but stand at the helm of your own vessel. True freedom is never separate from responsibility. Only when you dare to accept it all can you wield all of your strength. History remembers those who left a mark, not because they avoided responsibility, but because they bore it as the natural cost of maturity. They knew that without discipline of thought, the grandest plans collapse. without vigilance of spirit, the finest achievements are easily swept away. It is for this reason they became symbols of strength, not because they never failed, but because they trained themselves to turn each failure into a foundation for a stronger edifice. From the moment you step onto this path, you see clearly that freedom and responsibility are two sides of the same coin. The more responsibility you assume, the freer you become. The more you deny it, the more imprisoned you are. This is why the principle of mentalism must be joined with discipline and vigilance, for without them, creative power only recreates the old patterns, but with them, you become the true architect, one who can build a life that reflects clarity, abundance, and wisdom from within. The 3-day thought-watching exercise, the filter that brings you closer or further from your goal, and the unmasking of the subconscious program. There is a reality most of us have never dared to face. The greater part of life is run by unconscious streams of thought. You believe you are free to choose, yet in truth, most decisions, reactions, and emotions are nothing more than the repetition of old programs from childhood, of beliefs planted long ago and never examined. To become the true architect of your life, you must undertake the bravest work of all, unmasking the subconscious programs. And the beginning of that path does not lie in academic knowledge, nor in lofty theories, but in a simple experiment. 3 days of guarding every thought. For these 3 days, your only task is to observe. Each time a thought arises, ask yourself one question. Does this thought move me closer to what I desire? Or does it pull me further away? That is all. Yet the power of this is far beyond what you can imagine, for in the silence of observation, you begin to see clearly the invisible map that has been directing your life. This is times the power of the voice. Within times, not merely a voice. You hear, but a space you return to. It is not just an echo in the mind, but a stillness in which you behold your own essence. When you begin this practice, you will be surprised. You will discover that hundreds of stray thoughts pass through you each day, most of which serve no purpose at all. Many even run contrary to what you claim to desire. You may affirm that you want prosperity, yet at the same time you nourish the thought that money is hard to earn, that you are not capable enough, that opportunities are reserved for others. These thoughts may seem harmless, but they are the seeds you repeat, and they create the very field of reality in which you now walk. 3 days of guarding thought is like shining a lamp into the dark room you have long neglected. You will see structures buried deep within the beliefs you never consciously chose, yet which govern your every action. When you ask, does this thought bring me nearer or farther from my goal? Asterisk, you are installing a new filter into your mental system. For the first time, you are the one who controls the door of your mind. And in doing so, you realize that it was never the outer world that bound you, but the unconscious programs that were the true chains. The beauty of this practice lies in its simplicity. You do not need to withdraw from life or flee to a distant monastery. You only need to carry this awareness into your daily living, standing in line, driving your car, sitting at your desk. Simply ask, does this thought take me closer or farther from my goal? Asterisk. That small question is the light shining into the basement of consciousness, the place you rarely dare to enter. And there you discover that in every moment you hold the power to choose. The truth may overwhelm you. You will realize how many years you have spent nurturing thoughts that served no dream. You will see that constant worry was never a natural reaction, but a mental habit carved deep within. And you will also realize that by changing this habit, every other door begins to open. For thought is the first cause. Once the cause is altered, the effect cannot remain the same. In these 3 days, You need not force yourself to think beautiful thoughts. Simply observe and recognize when a negative thought arises. You do not need to deny or chase it away. You only need to see clearly that it is carrying you farther from your goal. That recognition alone reduces its hold. Gradually, you will find yourself able to replace it with another thought, truer, stronger, more effeating. In this way, you are quietly reprogramming the mind. This seemingly simple work is the foundation of all profound transformation, for if you do not know what you are thinking, you will never know why you are living what you are living. But once you see clearly, your hand is on the wheel, and you can choose a new direction. The power of the 3-day exercise lies not in its complexity, but in its awareness. It shows you that nothing in your life is random. Everything is an honest reflection of what you cultivate within. Remember, this is not a one-time exercise. It is the doorway to a lifelong path. 3 days are only to give you a taste of the truth that you can observe and that you can choose. But it is the repetition, the making of this into a new habit that will carry you into another life. And once you have seen, you can never return to blindness. For once the light has been lit, the darkness cannot make you forget the clarity. The 3-day thought-watching practice is not a minor challenge. It is an invitation to step into a new role. The role of the conscious creator. It teaches you that the inner world is not a relentless stream dragging you along, but a garden you can tend, prune, and seed. And in that garden, every seed of thought you choose will shape the harvest to come. This is the place you return to, the place where you discover that power does not come from outside, but from the voice within the voice you've neglected too long. Now calling you home, Principle 2, Correspondence, as within, so without, as above. So below the mirror of the outer world, the second universal principle is correspondence. It is captured in the brief yet piercing statement, as within, so without, as above, so below, asterisk. This is not merely a philosophy, it is an absolute law of operation. Where your outer world always faithfully reflects your inner world, what you see outside is never random. It is the mirror of your beliefs, your emotions, and your thoughts carried deep within. Look at yourself closely. Your financial condition is not merely the result of markets or chance, but a direct reflection of the beliefs you hold about value, abundance, and your own capacity. If within you lies the quiet conviction that money is difficult, that you are undeserving, that opportunity belongs to others, then the outer world will continually arrange situations to confirm that belief. Conversely, if within you rests a natural state of abundance, if you believe that what you give in value will be returned, life will soon provide opportunities to prove that conviction true. The same holds in relationships. Others will treat you in accordance with the hidden beliefs you hold about your worth. If you believe you are unworthy of true love, you will continually encounter the superficial, the unfaithful, the abandoning. But if you know that love already resides within you, you will naturally attract those who honor and cherish you. Encounters are never coincidences. They are reflections from the inner mirror. The principle of correspondence offers a liberating truth. Instead of endlessly trying to polish the mirror, you learn to change the image that stands before it. Humanity has long been obsessed with repainting the shadow, bending the outer form, while forgetting that the root lies within. You may change your job, change your partner, change your city, but if your deep beliefs and emotions remain the same, the script will replay itself. This is why many run from one situation only to find themselves in another of the same essence. This principle also shows the link between higher and lower, between great and small. Every system reflects the structure of the larger system. The universe operates by laws, and so does the life of the individual. The human body is a microcosm reflecting the grand order of nature. When you harmonize the little within you with the great beyond you, you no longer feel separate. You become part of the whole current. The mirror of the outer world is always honest. It cannot lie. If you see chaos around you, it signals chaos within. If you see peace surrounding you, it proves you have cultivated peace within. To understand this principle is to stop wasting energy arguing with the picture before you and to use it as a map. Outer conditions become signals pointing you to what must change within. A financial crisis may reveal the need to heal your relationship with value. A broken relationship may reveal the need to reassess how you perceive yourself. Real power comes when you cease to see life as an enemy and begin to treat it as a mirror for training. Every hardship is no longer punishment, but an opportunity to look deeper within and adjust. Every success is no longer an accident, but confirmation that your new belief has taken root. With this attitude, you stop resisting reality and begin cooperating with it. The principle of correspondence also explains why the great teachers and sages always emphasized inner observation. They knew that to heal the world, one must heal oneself. To transform society, one must transform personal thought. Every lasting revolution begins as a spiritual revolution, and when one individual changes, they become a mirror for others, setting off ripples that gradually shape the collective in practice. You may begin by treating every outer experience as feedback. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" Asterisk, ask, "What thought have I been nurturing that has called this forth?" Asterisk. That question alone lifts you from the role of victim and restores you to the role of creator. As you persist in cultivating this perspective, you will gradually realize that nothing in life is meaningless. All is a mirror guiding you back to your own root. The principle times as within, so without as above. So below times is not an abstract idea, but a practical reminder that you always have the power to change from within. When you do, the outer world will rearrange itself to match the new image you project. This is the liberating strength of correspondence, for from this moment on, you no longer need to repair the mirror. You need only transform yourself, fix the image, not the mirror. Two reflective questions and the practice of reprogramming the inner mind. When you understand the principle of correspondence, you begin to see the futility of trying to change the mirror while leaving the true image untouched. Many people spend their whole lives attempting to adjust the outer world. They change jobs, change partners, change cities, even change dreams. Yet the storyline repeats itself. Why? Because they have only painted over the mirror without ever altering the image. It reflects. The outer world is never the cause. It is only the result. And if you wish to change the result, you must change the cause, your thoughts and inner beliefs. A simple yet powerful practice is to ask yourself two reflective questions. Whenever you face any aspect of life, the first, what am I holding within that makes the outer world reflect itself this way? Asterisk. The second, what belief, emotion, and thought must I begin to cultivate for the image in the mirror to change? Asterisk. These two questions are like twin keys that open the door from the outer world back to your inner center. Instead of trying to force others to change, you ask yourself what signal you've been sending. That called forth this situation. Instead of resenting circumstances, you seek to adjust the architecture of belief. Take finances as an example. If you find yourself continually in lack, pause and ask, what belief about money am I holding? Asterisk. Perhaps you have unconsciously accepted that money only comes by luck, that wealth equals greed, or that you are not capable enough These are the true images, while lack is only the mirror reflecting them. The second question will then take you further. What must I nurture for this image to change? Asterisk. Perhaps it is the belief that money is a natural flow, that the value you give will always return to you, that you are worthy of abundance. As you begin to plant these beliefs, the outer picture will soon alter to reflect them. The same principle applies to relationships. If betrayal and disregard are recurring themes, instead of condemning others, ask, what within me has the mirror reflected? Asterisk. Perhaps you secretly believe you are unworthy, that love always brings pain, that happiness is fragile. These beliefs create the cycle. When you dare to face them, you see what must be cultivated instead, that true love exists, that you are worthy of honor, that happiness can endure. Once this new belief takes root, the outer mirror will reflect it through healthier, truer connections. This practice does not demand you to change everything in a day. It only asks you to patiently observe and correct from the root. Just as when you look in a mirror, you do not smash it. When your hair is disheveled, you adjust the hair. So with outer life, when chaos appears, do not waste energy arguing with circumstances, but return inward and find the program running. And once the program changes, the mirror outside will immediately show a different image. This is the work of reprogramming the inner mind. In your subconscious lycos written long ago, from childhood, from family, from society, they still operate, though you may not remember. They are why you encounter the same situations again and again. Reprogramming means you stop leaving the old codes unchecked and begin writing new ones. Each time you ask the two reflective questions, you erase a fragment of the old script and replace it with a new command. Gradually, the entire operating system of your life is renewed. The outer world ceases to be a random mystery. It is the mirror. Everything you see is simply a signal urging you to turn inward and make adjustments. You need not resist. You need not resent. You need only read the message. Then return to the root. This is not easy work, but it is the only work that matters. For all true change must begin within, and the miracle will come. One day you will realize the outer world has shifted. Opportunities appear. Relationships grow healthy. Finances rise. Health restores. It was not the mirror that changed itself, but the image you diligently reformed. This is the reward of mental discipline and patience, the prize of those willing to labor within. As you practice this habit, life itself becomes a continuous classroom. Every difficulty no longer punishment, but a reflective lesson. Every success no longer chance, but confirmation that the new program is running. And so you walk into life with peace, no longer tossed by storms, because, you always have the power to return inward, to observe, to ask the two questions, and to adjust. The outer world is only the mirror, and you are the artist shaping the reflection. Principle 3, vibration. Frequency shapes experience, and the 5-minute morning ritual to tune your energy. The third universal principle is vibration. Everything vibrates. Nothing stands still. This means that from the stone that seems unmoving to the fleeting thoughts in your mind, all are forms of energy, each moving at different frequencies. Your reality is not the product of chance, but the result of the vibration you sustain. Every thought, every emotion is like a wave broadcast outward, and the universe responds with experiences that resonate at the same frequency. If you dwell in fear, you will continually meet situations that confirm it. If you maintain gratitude, you will keep drawing in new reasons to be grateful. Vibration is the invisible soundtrack shaping the entire life you are hearing. To understand this principle is to realize that you cannot demand happiness while holding on to negative emotion. You cannot call forth prosperity while continually transmitting lack. You cannot attract love while vibrating at the frequency of suspicion. The outer world is simply the faithful arrangement of the inner rhythm. This is why shifting your vibration is essential, for only when frequency changes can reality change. Though it may sound abstract, it is utterly practical, like a radio. You cannot tune in to classical music while set to the frequency of news. You cannot expect a different signal without turning the dial. Your mind and emotions are the transmitter, and your task is not to force the world outside to change, but to learn how to adjust the dial within. One way to master this principle is through 5-minute morning ritual, practiced when the mind is still fresh and unswept into the day's currents. This ritual is simple, yet has the power to set your frequency for the entire day. First, sit quietly and take several deep breaths, calming the nervous system. Slow breathing is like a lever shifting you out of reaction and into creation. Next, name 3 specific things you are grateful for right now. They need not be grand, only genuine. It could be a loved one, a small opportunity, or simply the gift of another day alive. Gratitude is one of the highest vibrations, and even a few seconds of true feeling is enough to lift your frequency to a new level. Then, envision a scene from the future you desire. Do not merely see it with the mind's eye. Feel it as though it were already real. If it is success, feel the pride and peace of it. If it is love, feel the warmth and wholeness of it. It is this felt state that creates the vibration. The universe answers. You do not set vibration with empty words, but with the full presence of body and soul. This 5-minute ritual is not a quick miracle. It is like tuning the instrument before playing the day's symphony. If the strings are off, every note will be discordant. But if tuned rightly, every note rings clear. When vibration is aligned in the morning, you will find yourself calmer in trial, clearer in decision, and naturally drawing experiences that harmonize with the higher state. Vibration also teaches that you always have the power to retune, no matter the circumstance. You cannot control every event, but you can control the vibration with which you respond. Others may rage, but you can remain steady. Markets may shift, but you can hold to the vibration of abundance. This choice of frequency is the true power, for when you shift vibration, reality must rearrange to match. Watch closely, and you will see there are those who may not yet have riches, yet they carry an energy of abundance. And opportunity seems to seek them out. There are those who may not yet have great success, yet their quiet confidence makes others want to walk with them and open new doors. This is no accident. It is the natural magnetism of vibration. You need not exhaust yourself chasing everything. You need only learn to sustain the right vibration. And what belongs to you will arrive. The most vital element is consistency. A high vibration for a few minutes cannot outweigh a day steeped in worry and doubt. Like an instrument, it must be tuned often. This is why the morning ritual is not merely a tool, but a discipline. You are training yourself to begin each day on the frequency you intend to sustain. In time, it becomes your default state you naturally transmit at the higher level without effort. The principle of vibration is not only about matter or psychology, it is a reminder that the essence of the universe is movement, rhythm, wave. When you learn to tune your own wave, you are no longer tossed helplessly in the current, but you become one who chooses the current that carries you. And from there, you enter life as a skilled musician, creating harmony with the great symphony of the universe. Principle 4, polarity. Two opposites of the same essence, moving gradually along the scale of energy. The fourth universal principle is polarity. It teaches that every phenomenon has two opposing poles, yet both are merely different points on the same scale of energy. Hot and cold are both heat. Light and darkness are both expressions of the spectrum. Love and hatred are simply different states of the same stream of emotion. When you grasp this, you no longer see yourself as trapped in a fixed condition. You recognize you are only standing at a point on the scale, and you always have the ability to move. People are often deceived by the labels of opposites. They think poverty and wealth, failure and success, fear and courage are separate worlds. Yet in truth, they're only positions on the same line. Therefore, movement is possible. The fear you feel today is simply courage not yet awakened. The poverty you experience is only the temporary expression of abundance not yet released. Polarity reveals that you are never truly separate from the pole you desire. You have simply not yet taken enough steps along that scale. Picture a thermometer. At one end lies freezing cold, at the other blazing heat. You cannot say cold and hot are two different realities. Both are degrees of temperature. The spiritual life works the same way. If you are in fear, you need not force yourself to leap instantly into perfect courage that only breeds resistance. You need only move one notch at a time, from fear to calm, from calm to acceptance, from acceptance to confidence, and from confidence to courage. Each step is a shift of energy. And in time, the pole you long for becomes your natural state. This opens a liberating truth. You are not bound forever to the negative pole. Neither must you deny uncomfortable feelings. You only need to realize that the feeling rests on the same energy line as the state you desire. And your task is to move gradually. This flexibility is what creates true growth. You are no longer imprisoned by extremes, but learn to follow the natural rhythm of transformation. The principle of polarity also shows how negative energy can be used as fuel. Anger, if indulged blindly, can destroy, but if transmuted, it becomes powerful motivation for change. Fear, if fled from, will enslave, but if acknowledged and faced step by step, it dissolves into the strength of courage. Polarity teaches that within every emotion lies the seed of its opposite, and maturity is the ability to find that seed and nurture it. This is the power of the voice. Within times, not merely a voice you hear, but a space you return to. In stillness, as you listen inwardly, you realize you're not bound by the labels of the outer world. You see that each time you face fear, courage is already being summoned within. Each time you touch sorrow, the seed of joy is present. This inner space is where you return to adjust your place on the scale, to remember that you are never trapped, but always capable of moving. In practice, you may begin by observing your state each day and asking, where am I on this scale of energy, and what is one step I can take upward? Asterisk, if you are discouraged, the first step may simply be acceptance rather than resistance. If you are anxious, the first step may be a moment of calm. Do not dismiss these small shifts. They are the path that leads from one pole to the other. To understand polarity is to cease condemning yourself for being in a negative state. You see it as only a temporary position, and you remember you have the power to move. This insight turns every difficulty into opportunity, for if you know you are at one end of the scale, you also know the other end is present and waiting. This is why the strong never sink into despair. They do not deny the darkness, but they know darkness is simply light at its lowest degree, and that by raising the frequency, the light must appear. As you train yourself to live by this principle, you will find yourself less extreme. You stop seeing life as win versus loss, right versus wrong, light versus dark, and begin to see it as energy to be adjusted. This brings patience and peace. You can move slowly, and that each small step has value. And in this process, you learn the greatest lesson, that even in the darkest hour, light has never been absent. The principle of polarity is an invitation to stop fighting the poles and begin learning to move along the scale of energy. It is the art of using darkness as the step upward of seeing in fear the seed of courage, in poverty the seed of abundance, in weakness the seed of strength. When you understand this, you cease to fear polarity itself. For, you are never stuck. You are always in motion. And it is this very journey of movement that becomes the true strength of the awakened soul. From wall to doorway, the process of emotional transformation step by step. There are moments in life when it feels as though you stand before an impenetrable wall. Heavy emotions flood in, fear surrounds you. Anger chokes you. Disappointment shuts every path. People often believe such states are the end point, destiny itself, the death of hope. Yet the principle of polarity reveals another truth. That wall is in fact a door not yet opened, and the key lies in the ability to transform emotion through gradual, possible steps. The truth is, you cannot leap from the abyss of despair to the summit of joy in a single instant. Attempts to force such a jump often end in failure and deeper self-doubt. Transformation requires patience and wisdom, like climbing a ladder. One rung at a time, steady and deliberate. If today you are in fear, your first aim is not absolute courage, but calmness. If you are buried in sorrow, you need not force yourself to be cheerful, only to reach silent acceptance. Each small step is a door, and when the doors line up one after another, the wall no longer blocks you, but becomes a corridor leading you into the light. This process is both gentle and powerful. Gentle because it does not demand that you deny your present feelings, nor force you to pretend positivity while heavy inside. It allows you to admit where you are, to look at the truth of that state, while also handing you the next step forward. Powerful, because each small shift changes your entire vibration, and life immediately responds. When you move from anger to determination, from disappointment to hope, from acceptance to trust, reality reflects this shift with new situations, new people, new opportunities. Picture someone who has lost everything in business. In that moment, they may sink into failure, believing themselves incapable, believing all is over. But if they understand this process, they will not deceive themselves by claiming happiness. They will begin with acceptance. I have failed, and yet I retain my worth, asterisk. From acceptance, they move to calm, facing the truth, rather than thrashing against it. From calm, they find determination. I will learn from this mistake. Asterisk, determination becomes drive, drive becomes new action. And step by step, failure is transformed into the foundation of a new chapter. Transformation through gradual steps is the art of turning what looked like walls into doors. Every emotion, however negative, lies on the same line of energy as its positive counterpart. Anger and courage belong to the same stream. Despair and joy to the same current, differing only in position. Your task is not denial, but movement. And each movement, however small, is victory. This is how true confidence is built. Instead of demanding sudden, fragile change, you can move in increments. You no longer fear overwhelming emotions because each contains the seed of its opposite. You look into anger and see the door to determination. You look into fear and see the door to courage. You look into disappointment and see the door to hope, and as you pass through each door, you are training yourself so that no wall in life is ever again a barrier, but a passage toward growth. This is the power of the voice within. Time's not merely a voice you hear, but a space you return to in the journey of transformation. The inner voice does not deny emotion. It reminds you that you can always take the next step. It is the space you come back to when outer life seems locked. The space that grants you patience to keep shifting until the light returns. As you practice this process, life itself grows more fluid. Instead of dreading the arrival of negative feelings, you see them as signals that a door is near. Instead of losing heart before challenges, you recognize them as paths upward to higher energy, and each time you step through a door, you grow stronger, steadier, clearer. This principle is not theory. It is practice. You can apply it today. When anxiety appears, ask, can I shift one step toward calm, asterisk, when disappointment strikes? Ask, can I move one step toward acceptance, asterisk? And when you do, you have begun the movement. Small steps form the great road, and that road will carry you from darkness into light, from walls into doorways. Principle 5, rhythm, the rise and fall, sowing in the upward swing and fortifying in the downturn. The 5th universal principle is rhythm. Everything in life moves in cycles up and down, advance and retreat, expansion and contraction. The wave cannot only rise without ever receding. The heart cannot only contract without relaxing. The seasons cannot be eternal spring without winter. Rhythm is the heartbeat of the universe, and it governs the destiny of every human being. When you understand the principle of rhythm, you cease to fear the periods of decline, for, they are simply part of the cycle. Just as dawn follows night, just as spring follows winter, the downturns of your life are but necessary pauses that prepare you for the next surge of growth. Instead of viewing them as failure, you see them as seasons for fortification, for gathering strength, for deepening the roots before stretching higher. Those who succeed with endurance are not the ones who only revel in the peak, but those who act wisely in both phases. When energy rises, they sow generously, expand boldly, seize the momentum to create the greatest results. They do not waste springtime in idleness. They recognize it as the season of planting, the golden hour for progress, expansion, and daring ventures. When the rhythm descends, they do not panic, nor waste strength resisting. They calmly consolidate, refine skills, build reserves. They treat winter as the sacred time for the tree of life to rest and nourish its roots. The way you respond to these rhythms determines the quality of your life. Those who do not understand rhythm fear decline, thinking at the end, and give up, or they grow blindly optimistic at the peak, squandering resources, swelling with pride, only to find themselves empty when the tide recedes. By contrast, those who know the rhythm use the ascent wisely and embrace the retreat. They do not identify themselves with the wave, but stand upon the shore, riding with the current rather than being dragged by it. Ask yourself, where in the rhythm of life are you standing? Are you in a springtime of opportunity when everything surges with vitality? Or in a winter of trial when all slows and you are forced to turn inward? Share this with me. For even the simple act of naming your season helps you choose the right action. And I thank you for being here, for your presence is proof that you take your journey seriously. When you live by the principle of rhythm, you master the art of timing. You know when to plant, when to harvest, when to rest. You are no longer dragged helplessly by the current, but become the surfer who rides the wave. The great swell is no longer threat, but power to carry you farther. The ebb is no longer loss, but the clearing of space for the next tide. Life becomes a music you can dance to, not a battle you must resist. The wise strategy is simple. Sow abundantly in the upward swing, fortify yourself in the downturn. In spring you expand and advance. In winter you cultivate, refine, and prepare, and thus your path always ascends, not in a straight line, but in a spiral, each turn higher than the last, for the universe does not stop, and you, if you keep time with its rhythm, will always move toward evolution. Principle 6, cause and effect. No luck. Only design. Strategic decisions through impact, alignment, and viability. The sixth universal principle is cause and effect. It declares that nothing happens by accident, that there is no such thing as true luck or misfortune. Every result you are living today is the inevitable effect of causes you have sown before, whether in thought, in feeling, or in action. The universe never overlooks. It simply reflects faithfully what you have emitted. If you want life to be different, there is no other path but to redesign the causes. Look at your life right now. Every dimension can be traced back to seeds you once planted. Your finances reflect your choices about value, spending, and how you respond to opportunity. Your relationships reflect the energy you bring to others and the beliefs you hold about love and worthiness. Your health reflects your lifestyle, habits, and how you deal with stress. All are seeds once sown, now bearing fruit true to their kind. This may feel heavy at first, but it is in fact liberating, for if everything is the result of cause, then you can always create new causes to produce new results. To live by cause and effect means relinquishing the role of victim. You stop blaming the market, the environment, your family, or fate. You face the truth. If you want a different harvest, you must sow different seed. The wisdom lies in learning to choose causes deliberately rather than letting unconscious habits decide for you. To do this, you need a framework for decision-making. A sound decision is not based on impulse or surface appeal. It must be measured against three core factors: impact, alignment, and viability. Asterisk, asterisk, impact times asks, what long-term effect will this choice bring? Will it move me closer to my highest aim? Or is it only a trivial step? Alignment times asks, does this choice fit with my vision, values, and the person I seek to become? If not, then no matter how effective it seems, it will pull you off course. Viability times asks, with my present resources, skills, time, energy, can I realistically carry it out, or will it become a burden that drains me? When you make decisions through this lens, you no longer scatter seeds blindly. You become the conscious gardener, selecting which seeds will grow, into which trees, planting them in the right soil, in the right season. Results cease to be surprises. They become inevitable. Others may look at you and call it luck, but there is no luck, only cause and effect. The precision of this law is astonishing. A stone dropped into water must create ripples. A seed placed in soil must attempt to sprout. Likewise, a thought sustained in the mind must seek expression in outer life. If you nurture limiting beliefs, you will reap limited outcomes. If you cultivate expansive thoughts and consistent action, you will reap corresponding results. The problem is that most people sow unconsciously and then marvel when the harvest disappoints. The principle of cause and effect calls you into the role of architect of your destiny. Instead of waiting for opportunity, you create it. Instead of hoping for fortune, you plant causes. Instead of fearing failure, you see a wrong choice as nothing more than a seed that did not grow, and then you plant again. This is the only way to turn life from chaos into order, from random to designed. Once you begin living by this principle, clarity emerges. Each day you look at your thoughts and ask, is this a cause that will lead to the result I want? Asterisk, each action you ask, does it have impact enough, alignment in the right direction, and viability within my resources? Asterisk. Every choice becomes a point of sowing, and you can begin to predict the harvest. This is true peace, knowing you are no longer drifting, but steering your vessel with intent. Cause and effect is the binding thread of all the principles before it. Mentalism times shows that everything begins in thought. Correspondence times reminds you that the outer reflects the inner. Vibration times teaches that frequency shapes experience. Polarity times reveals that you can shift along the scale of energy. Rhythm times helps you time your planting and harvesting. And now, with cause and effect, you see that everything you think, feel, and do is a cause, and your life is its unfailing effect. This is not knowledge to admire. It is a tool to wield, and if you truly want a different future, the moment to plant new causes is now. Principle 7, generation, balancing masculine action and feminine receptivity. For the example of harmonious entrepreneurship, the seventh universal principle is generation, the principle of creation. It reveals that nothing can come into being, no work can be completed, no vision can be born without the union of two energies, the masculine and the feminine. This has nothing to do with gender, but with two fundamental currents that operate in every act of creation. The masculine carries the qualities of action, direction, and decisiveness, the force that pushes an idea from the unseen into form. The feminine carries the qualities of receptivity, nurture, and shaping the patience, intuition, and capacity to bring the seed into life. When these two streams blend, creation not only occurs, but it endures and carries meaning. If only the masculine is present, one may act with great drive, yet quickly collapse into exhaustion, hasty decisions, relentless pushing, dry strategies without intuition. All of these reduce effort to a draining race. If only the feminine is present, one may dream and feel deeply, yet never manifest. Intuition and imagination without decision and action remain forever in potential. Generation reminds us that both must work together like the two wings of a bird, like two currents lifting the same vessel. Picture the founding of a new business. Feminine energy gives you vision. It allows you to feel the deeper purpose, to see that the brand is more than a product, but a value offered to the world. It helps you sense the true needs of people, listen to the market with intuition, and hold the vision as though carrying a child. But if you stop there, the dream will never be born. This is where masculine energy enters, structuring the plan, signing agreements, building systems, taking decisive steps to turn the dream into reality. For example, an entrepreneur might begin with the feminine, sitting quietly to feel why this business must exist, who it will serve, what it will change. This subtle connection gives the business its soul. Then they shift into the masculine, choosing suppliers, designing a marketing strategy, managing cash flow. At each stage, both energies are needed. To rush into action without returning to intuition is to lose direction. To remain in imagination without decision is to miss the moment. This is the power of the voice. Within times, not merely a voice, you hear but a space you return to. In that inner space, when to pause and listen with the feminine, and when to advance with the masculine. This balance is the secret. Every creator must preserve in entrepreneurship, as in every work of life. Sustainable success is never one-sided, but born of harmony. Generation extends beyond work to every domain of life. In love, the feminine is listening, receiving, nurturing. The masculine is protecting, guiding, acting. When imbalance occurs, relationships suffer. Too much masculine becomes rigidity, control. Too much feminine becomes passivity. Lack of boundaries. But when both are honored, love becomes a space of creation, where each grows in fullness within yourself. The two streams are present. When you journal, reflect, or rest in silence, you are nurturing the feminine. When you decide, confront challenges, and act without hesitation, you are activating the masculine. Wisdom is knowing when to step forward and when to return inward. Not always charging, not always waiting. It is the dance between two poles, the collaboration that makes life both dynamic and profound. Generation is the final piece among the 7 universal principles, for it weaves all others into a living system. Mentalism times shows thought is the origin. Correspondence times reminds you the outer mirrors, the inner. Vibration key reveals frequency, shapes, experience. Polarity times shows the possibility of movement along the scale. Rhythm times teaches the timing of cycles. Cause and effect times affirms that all results are consequences of seeds sown. And times, generation times completes them all. For nothing manifests without the harmony of the two creative forces. Without this union, the other principles remain theory. In today's restless world, generation is not just a concept, but a key to sustainable living. You need both the strength to advance and the gentleness to nurture. You need both clear strategy and subtle intuition. You must know when to decide and when to wait and listen. When you live in this harmony, every project, every relationship, every dream becomes a complete creative process, and life itself ceases to be a burden. It becomes a dance where you are the musician, the dancer, and the music itself, system integration, training in every moment of life, the 3-layered spiritual armor of thought, emotion, and action. When you have understood and practiced each principle individually, the next step is to integrate the whole system into your daily life. This is no longer about knowledge, but about training in every small moment, every fleeting thought, every rising emotion. Every choice of action is an opportunity to apply the 7 principles. It is the unending repetition of this that produces lasting transformation. In the flow of daily life, you cannot control every event, but you can always control how you respond. Here, you need an inner protection, a spiritual armor that steadies you as life shifts and turns. This armor has 3 layers: thought, emotion, and action. When these 3 align, you cease to be easily wounded by the outer world. You become the one who actively shapes reality. The first layer is thought, asterisk, asterisk. This is the root, for mentalism has shown that thought is the first cause. Spiritual armor begins with guarding the mind. You watch the stream within, catching the old beliefs and the whisper of limitation, replacing them with thoughts aligned with the vision you want to create. This vigilance is like a sentry at the gate, refusing entry to intruders of fear or doubt. The second layer is emotion, asterisk, asterisk, vibration. has revealed that frequency shapes experience and emotion is the current that generates that frequency. Armor here is not denial of negative feelings, but their transformation through polarity. When anger arises, you shift it into determination. When fear swells, you turn it into wise caution. When sorrow weighs heavy, you find within it the seed of empathy and gratitude. This is the art of using the very energy of emotion to nourish higher states, instead of letting it drag you down. The third layer is action, asterisk, asterisk. Here, cause and effect is most visible. Every action is a seed, and none is meaningless. Armor in this layer is disciplined action. It means you do not stop at thought or feeling, but carry them into decisions that have impact, alignment, and viability. When life's rhythm rises, you sow with bold action. When rhythm descends, you consolidate and prepare. In both, you remain purposeful, never passive or blindly reactive. These three layers reinforce one another. Right thought leads to right emotion. Right emotion leads to right action. And right action, in turn, strengthens thought and belief. This becomes a positive spiral, replacing the negative spiral that traps so many. Once this spiral is firm, you are hard to shake like a stone, unmoved amid the crashing waves. The key is to practice in the smallest of moments. A traffic jam can be training in patience and emotional control. A word of criticism can be a chance to observe and replace limiting thought. An unexpected opportunity can be the moment to apply cause and effect, weighing impact, alignment, and viability. Life ceases to be a series of random events. It becomes a continuous training ground where you forge your spiritual armor each day, and it is this practice that builds true strength. Power does not lie in understanding principles when all is calm, but in applying them when the storm breaks, when the mind begins to fall back into old reflexes. You remember the first layer of armor? When emotions surge to drown you, you remember the second. When circumstances demand a hard choice, you remember the third. Each time you use it, you reinforce your inner strength. System integration means no longer separating learning from living. Every lesson is tested in reality. Every principle becomes the breath of daily life. From here, you walk with a new serenity, knowing you are no longer a victim of circumstance, but a spiritual warrior, guarded by the threefold armor, ready to face any challenge while keeping your direction and clarity intact. The leverage of long-term execution, the keystone domino, the power of constancy, the mindset of the long-game player, and the invitation to continue the journey. In every great journey, what determines the outcome is not the short burst of enthusiasm, but the endurance of the long run. Many begin with fire in their hearts, only to fade when obstacles appear, while those who achieve lasting success are the ones who know where to place their leverage, who persist step by step, and who think like long-game players. This is the principle of the keystone domino and constancy, the two forces that transform aspiration into enduring results. The keystone domino is the pivotal action capable of triggering a chain reaction, making other efforts easier or even unnecessary. Instead of scattering energy across dozens of trivial tasks, you pour yourself into the single leverage point that topples the entire line. A business might struggle with complex marketing strategies, but when it creates a product of true excellence, customers themselves become the marketers. An individual may chase countless money-making schemes, but by investing in a keystone skill, that one ability opens doors that fragmented effort never could. The secret lies in discovering your domino, the single act that can set the whole chain in motion. Yet the domino alone only works when partnered with constancy, the enduring power of repetition. One push is not enough to carve a path. but steady steps grind down even the hardest stone. Constancy is like the river, soft but relentless, which over years forms the mighty canyon. In life, it is the discipline of repeating the right action every day, whether inspiration is present or not. When spirits soar, you act. When weary and uninspired, you act still. Every repetition is a brick laid in the foundation of your future. Those who do not grasp constancy demand instant results, and when results delay, they quit. But every transformation requires accumulation. A seed cannot become a tree overnight, but when watered daily, it must grow. Constancy whispers that you do not need sudden miracles. You need steady persistence. When the right domino is chosen, constancy makes it unstoppable to live as a long game player. You must shift your view of success. The short-term player obsesses over immediate wins, over temporary excitement. The long game player looks 5, 10 years, even a lifetime ahead. They ask, will today's choice make me stronger a decade from now? Will this path nourish my core values? Or is it only surface glitter? Asterisk. With this vision, they remain calm in defeat. Knowing one lost battle does not decide the war, nor do they become reckless in victory, for they know each win is but a step in the greater journey. The long game mindset grants the greatest freedom when you are not chained to instant results. You escape anxiety and the burden of constant proof. You can focus on quality instead of speed, depth instead of surface. You become the patient sower, knowing harvest is certain, and when it comes, it will be abundant beyond measure. This perspective keeps you steady against the short-term tides, always moving forward along your own trajectory. Now, looking back at the 7 principles, you see how they converge here. Mentalism times reminded you that thought is the origin. Correspondence times showed that the outer mirrors the inner. Vibration times taught that frequency shapes experience. Polarity times opened the possibility of emotional shift. Rhythm times revealed the cycles of rise and fall. Cause and effect times proved that every result has its cause. Generation times showed that creation requires both forces in harmony, and now all converge in long-term execution, where you use the keystone domino to choose wisely, constancy to sustain, and the long game mindset to define the vision. This is no longer knowledge, it is invitation, an invitation to commit not for days or weeks, but for life, an invitation to stop chasing miracles outside and instead begin sowing the right causes, nurturing pure vibrations, acting with steady purpose, an invitation to wear the 3-layered spiritual armor and walk forward as a long game player, unshaken by the storm. And when you commit, a new door opens. You step out of the land of chance into the land of design. You no longer live in reaction, but in creation. You no longer let time slip by, but turn it into ally, and you discover that success is not a destination, but a state of being lived each day in discipline, clarity, and freedom. That is true enduring power, the strength that makes you unshakable on the long journey of life. After all, you have walked with me through 16 steps of the journey. You have seen clearly that there is no luck, only cause and effect. There are no impenetrable walls, only doors waiting to be opened. There is no random chaos, only principles working with order and precision. From this day on, stop chasing the outside and begin designing the inside. Choose your keystone domino. Hold to constancy walk as a long game player, and above all, make a covenant with yourself that you will continue to train, continue to stand firm, continue to sow seeds for the harvest you deserve. The world is not waiting for you to prove yourself. It is only reflecting with perfect accuracy what you have chosen to become